What is Hello Neighbor 2 hiding out of bounds? Hello Neighbor 2's final AI demo just released, and within it is a vast spooky world. It feels like you're wandering around on a fall night, and the atmosphere is perfect. But this demo restricts you from the outer world. You can only explore the barn and the house. But what if we could explore everything? Today, we're heading out of bounds to find other houses, weird things hidden underground, and rooms that are off-axis in the neighbor's home. I hope you enjoy. So like I just mentioned, when you start this demo, you're inside this barn. And when you leave this barn, you see some floating weird things above you, but in front of you is the neighbor's house. And this is the entire area where the demo takes place. Now, as you can see, there's fences all around this property, and we cannot jump over any of them. The truth is, there's these giant invisible barriers, basically rectangles that you cannot see, that stretch up way above the player, and they head out about a meter. So this prevents us, in most areas, from getting out of bounds. But that isn't going to stop us. We will get beyond this fence, but for now we're going to focus on the house itself. And speaking of bizarre trips into the unknown, before you head into your next haunted corn maze, make sure you grab a Zardy plush keychain to help you navigate. It's the 2-year anniversary of my first game, so if you want one before they're gone, click the link in the description below. So in this demo, you have to find 4 keys to unlock this door to go to the basement, and when you reach the basement, the game ends. Now, there is an area in this house that we cannot actually access, and that is the stairwell that is boarded off with the crime scene tape. Trying to go up the staircase is impossible because we come across an invisible wall. So the staircase does have collision and we can walk up it, but there's things we cannot see that are stopping us. But of course, there's a door at the top of the staircase and we want to see what this leads to. So we can actually delete the things in front of us. We can clear off the tape that blocks our way, and then we can also delete the giant invisible rectangle, similar to the things that block us outside beyond the fence. And once we do this, we can now go upstairs. Now, the neighbor cannot follow us up here, so we are safe, but what's interesting is that the stairwell itself sort of doesn't make sense up here. It only makes sense from a perspective if you're looking up the stairs. But up here, the architecture could definitely use some work. Now, there's another door in front of us, but we're just gonna kind of squeeze through this and get into the attic. And when you're inside the attic, you can see that this entire area is sort of vacant. We are able to see the curtains that block the windows from outside, but this entire room is basically unfinished. Now, what's interesting is that while wandering around this, we can accidentally fall through the floor and we'll be out of bounds beside the vent. But what I want to show you is that there's actually the boundaries of another room up here. Now, this room has definitely seen better days, and it is not complete, but it goes to show that perhaps in the final build of the game, there will be some sort of room up here, and obviously more to do in the attic. That is assuming that this house is actually the house in the game, and this wasn't something that was just made for a demo. But anyways, I popped out of the house and jumped on the roof for a second, and I'm walking around, and now I definitely want to go see what this world has to offer. We'll come back to the house in a little bit, but there's so much to see out here, so we're gonna hop the fence and start running through the countryside. Now, there is a lot of detail put into this outside world, and one of the things I instantly wanted to check out were the lakes. There's these bodies of water surrounding this map, and if we go into the water, well, it's actually just a layer that looks like water. And I'm wondering how they'll deal with water in the actual game, because I imagine the player will be able to jump over fences no problem to explore this sort of open world map. Now, a previous demo that we did not cover does have an open world map as well, so I'm curious if they are still going to stick with that concept. Anyways, we swim/not swim through the countryside, run up some hills, and we come across some houses that are in the distance. Now, these houses have a pretty interesting secret to them. If we go up and look in the windows, you'll see that we can see a room inside. And as we move the camera back and forth, or a character, you can see that the room inside also changes its perspective. Now, you may think a room is actually there, but the truth is these houses are completely empty. Going inside the house shows you that no room exists. And another hint to show this is that when you go to the different windows on the houses, well, they often show the same room at a different perspective, or just the same room with no change. Now, this is the interesting trick to save on geometry within these houses. Instead of modeling the inside of these houses so you can look through the windows, they instead take a flat surface, the window, and they tie an image to that window. And this image warps as you look around through this window, and it's dynamically tied to your player's camera. By doing this, they only need to include a single flat image per window. They know the player is never going in these houses, and they know the player is never going on the roofs, so they don't have to show those details and they can save on resources in the game. I mean, even the chimneys up top do not have holes in them. There's no point because they believe the player would normally not go up here. But of course, this is HorrorScoped, and we have the power to just delete houses, so we do. But checking all these other houses, you can see that all these things are very similar. But as we move on, there's something kind of interesting. Some of these houses are actually clipping through the ground. It looks like the earth sort of rose up and swallowed the bottom of the house. There's even a dumpster that is clipping through the hillside. And if we go beneath the hill, you can find another dumpster completely buried underground. Underground is basically like a giant lake. There's a layer of water that sort of stretches as far as the eye can see, and while it's down here, that's when I saw something else. There are these rows of untextured rectangles that are sort of just buried underground, and our player can actually land on these and walk around. And I'm not entirely sure what these are supposed to be. They are just kind of down here, and we can walk around on them. There's also a buried staircase in the distance. It's like beneath the hillside in a forest, and I'm not sure why it's there. Something else that is kind of interesting about these houses is that certain houses are basically a hodgepodge of house pieces from other houses. Like when you're flying through these house structures, sometimes you'll just find a hidden roof inside the house that you can't see. And basically by combining assets, they get a new looking house while using the old assets in conjunction with one another. And as we press through the wilderness, running from house section to house section, we do find other houses that are even farther beneath the ground. So much so that there are floating walkways underneath the ground that we can walk on. So as I drop through the floor, there is a hidden porch underground, and there's a hidden stone walkway right next to it. I'm walking on it and I jump to this other one next to it, and I'm hoping that I don't fall into the great watery lake beneath the map. But yeah, this stuff is just sort of here. A lot of these assets are more than likely just set dressing. The developers knew that the player would never normally be over here, so they placed these houses the way they did, so they just looked good from far away. Not so much if you're up close. I'm going to assume that real estate in Ravenbrooks is a bad investment due to environmental issues, I suppose. Now, as we continue to explore this countryside, I do pull out my bag, and this is what the character holding the bag looks like from a different perspective. We do not have a head, because when the active camera is running for our character, it removes the head from the model. But I'll show you the head of the character later on, although a lot of you have probably already seen it. So as we push on through the rolling hills and through the forest, we come across yet another interesting setup of houses. Except this time they aren't underground, they're floating off the ground. And with these houses, we can actually crawl beneath their concrete foundation and really hope this house does not fall on us. Now, floating houses, that's an entirely different kind of real estate. So maybe I was wrong before. But throughout our adventure, we've just been going in a big loop around the map, and we're slowly coming back to the original house. But before we get there, I kind of want to show you what a zoom out of this map looks like. Now, there's clouds up above, but if we move the camera way up in the clouds, you can see how far these clouds go. It's actually kind of a cool view up here. And what's neat is that the clouds are actually 3D volumes. They are not flat objects projected to the sky. They are indeed 3D moving clouds that if we move the camera inside of, we can see that they sort of fade away and dissipate as we get near. And if you want to see what the entire map looks like, well, here you go. It's a giant square, and all the edges of this giant square are hidden by the various hills that make up this map. So as we come back down, we're heading towards the neighbor's house once again, but we have the house that's right next to it to check out. Now, I'm going to be honest, this house next to the neighbor's house has seen better days. And I'm actually very surprised the developers did not try to fix these things, because these things are visible in the actual demo. Apparently, all this grass is floating next to this house, and it's just not aligned to the ground properly. And out back, there is a picnic table that is not on the ground. It's like floating a meter off the ground, and you have to run and jump on top of it. Now, all these things are things that you can see within the neighbor's yard if you were to go up against a fence and look out. So unfortunately, these details were an oversight by the developers, and yeah, they're just kind of there. But now we've made it back to the neighbor's house, and I want to try something kind of fun. So I start spawning in multiple neighbors, and these neighbors that I'm spawning in are loaded in without a behavior in Unreal Engine. So they're basically pacifists. They'll not chase the player, they'll stand there and look confused, and once in a while they'll walk around. I also disabled hit detection on my model so that the other neighbor could not throw me out of the house. He just sort of runs up against me aggressively, hoping I'll leave on my own, but that is not going to happen. And what's kind of bizarre is I spawned in a neighbor that is rotated. So this neighbor appears and he's floating like to the side. He's like at an angle and he's just like drifting towards the behind of this other neighbor. And he brushes up against them and pushes past them. And he's kind of broken. The poor dude does not know what to do. Now, what's interesting is there is actually a room beneath the basement room. So there is this concrete box that is at the bottom of the house beneath the actual basement. So I go down there and I'm hopping around, and I accidentally hit the trigger in the actual basement that ends the demo. But this time I want to go back to this area and actually check out the basement that we can't see. We normally come down the steps, and once we do so, the demo ends. But this is what the actual basement looks like, and there's various objects in the basement we can pick up. From a piece of paper that looks like it's going to be important to the plot, to a key that actually opens up the exterior basement door that leads outside. Now, at this point, there was really just one thing I wanted to do, and it was a slow motion jump scare. But before doing that, this is what our character actually looks like. Some of you have probably seen this character in the previous installments of the Hello Neighbor 2 demos, but here we are, we're this reporter. So now what I want to do is a slow motion jump scare. But something that's interesting is that the neighbor's eyeballs kind of pop out when he's interested in something he sees. And I always thought it looked really weird, but this is what it looks like up close. So in order to pull this off, we're going to dislodge the camera from our character as the neighbor is running towards us in slow motion. So once the neighbor touches us, the jump scare begins, and this is what it looks like from an alternative perspective in bullet time. It's actually kind of very creepy watching this happen in slow motion. Like, the neighbor is very terrifying. Also, he has like these swirls on his elbows, which I thought was kind of neat. But basically what happens is the game does not reset like a lot of other jump scares in other games. But as this animation comes to an end, the screen actually dips to black, and our player model is actually transported instantly outside. Now, when this happens, the neighbor himself actually stays put. His jump scare animation isn't actually finished. He has to put his hands down to his side before he can move, and he does not move from that spot. Only the player is teleported outside, and we can find the player just kind of sitting here in the grass, and that's when we ultimately pick ourselves up and we start all over again. And what's kind of funny is if we enable our head, well, we can actually look out through our glasses in front of our face. But that wraps up the Hello Neighbor 2 demo. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you did, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers!